I got to tell you, love has truly walked through the door. Matter of fact, with that big old chest, it barely fit through the door. Known to bench press over 500 pounds once with two dudes helping. Big man. Woo! We got a huge guest for you today on the Yeah Come On show. His name, Mike Bell. We all love ourselves some Mike Bell on Dukes and Bell on 92.9 The Game from 2 until 7 p.m. A personal friend, a great broadcaster, a great talent. He does voices, and he's pretty damn funny, and he likes to have sex. That's why we brought him on the Yeah Come On show.
That's a hell of an introduction. It's like, stop it.
Yeah, I can't quit. I can't quit you. I can't.
By the way, before people start looking up at that bench press information, I'm like a T-Rex, okay? So T-Rex loves bench press, and when you've got a soft center, you got to keep the chest out. My old man said you never have to do sit-ups. You keep bringing your chest out. That's my philosophy.
Well, dude, it's a big chest. I tell you right now, outside of some girls I've dated, if I was gay, I would want your breast. I'm not going to kid you. I would.
The problem is, once you get older, you got to keep it up. So you got to go to a GNC, and you got to be loaded up on everything now, man.
That's it.
The cup would melt right now.
You walk in and go, "Hey, man, aging stud. Got a wife that needs it, and I need to look good at my sports promotions. And what do you got for me? Is there a shot I can take? A Dynaball I can swallow? What do I got to do?"
Frank Thomas is speaking directly to me on those commercials.
Well, I got to tell you, man, having you on is a blessing. And I just want to thank our sponsors quickly. I want to thank OxygenFinancial.com for all your financial seeds. Bell, you got that big sports money. Don't be afraid to call Ted Jenkins. Also, Circle 285. If I know you, Mike, you've been through several insurance companies for totaling Corvettes. You need good insurance and a good quote. Go to circle285.com. And finally, Ridgeline Counseling. One thing you don't need is Dr. David Markwell, because you can't be fixed. And I dig it.
Well, I did go through anger management once, but that's a topic I can't get into.
Oh.
But, yeah, man.
You and I both did. I had to go to anger management too because I almost killed Larry.
I remember that. I was telling my wife before we got on to do the podcast, I said, there was a time, early 2000s, I would always see Steve at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Or one time you were hosting like a Hooters bikini contest and I was a judge. And I think you and I were like, man, we together would be a hell of a show. Because I think at the time we were both like third bananas on our respective programs.
Yeah. Third banana is an interesting role, and people need to realize it's like the hosts get to be who they are. But as a third banana, you got to be the guy, and they live vicariously through us. And people are like, you're 55 and you got a 0-year-old? And I'm like, yeah, dude, because to have a career, I was having to sleep with everybody. I was having to stay out. I had to be a verbal whore of all things liquor and girls because they lived vicariously through me, because the guys I was working with had kids. They had normal lives. They're living outside the perimeter. I'm downtown. And you did the exact same thing. Third banana, so to speak, is a tough gig. It's fun, but it's taxing, and it'll age you quick.
It's true, man. And then unfortunately for me, you kind of get cast as he is the party guy. So if you do have like on the radio a serious take and you're actually bringing some intelligence, people feel like they make like the dog face.
Yeah.
You kind of get expected to just be that knucklehead. And we all have real lives and real points and positions on issues. But yeah, man, I think like anything else, bro. When I first got to Atlanta, it was you learn about the city, you get comfortable in your own skin. I was a music guy. My background was rock radio and top 40. So you learn how to do sports talk, and you learn how to, as you said, find your own sound and how you develop your personality. Not to get all like into the business, but yeah, man, it's a journey for sure. Now, like the problem is once you get older, you're happy, everything's good, and now you're too fat to score chicks in Buckhead like you did in the old days.
No, and we did. And Brett Barney, you have to know, Mike is somebody that I definitely, and who knows, Mike, we could still end up working together. Who knows? Who knows? But I always wanted to be in the studio with you because I loved your energy. I obviously think a lot of your broadcasting. I know how you are as a person. And anytime I found myself at a golf course, and I'm hanging, I'm like, okay, I hear Mike's voice. He's here. Or I was walking in doing a gig at a certain strip club called the Cheetah, air quoting it. You're a judge there. You're hanging out there. So anytime I was someplace edgy, oh, look, Mike's here. So just keep in mind, I always felt like I was working and you weren't. But I want to say the greatest stunt I've ever seen Mike do. Mike was in L.A., and I was in L.A., and we were doing something for Turner. Turner loved both of us dearly, and I know you love Turner too. One thing in Atlanta, TNT, I can't say enough the things that they did with us, and you and I worked several times for them in different locations. But I gotta tell you this one, Brett Barney, my fine co-host. Here we are. I get into L.A. We're staying at a really kick-ass. I think we were at the London
Hotel in West Hollywood. You
yeah.
The view, rooftop pool of the Hollywood sign. It's the quintessential Hollywood hotel.
And it overlooks, the legendary bars, the whiskey. And we're looking right down at the whiskey. So I'm like, all right. And I knew you were there, Mike. And I'm like, well, I got to find Mike. So I go up, I get out all my stuff. I said, well, let's go check out the pool. So I always brought the sales guy with me because he's like, hey, man, I'm getting you paid, man. You got to take me on these trips. And I didn't have a set girlfriend. And I was like, you know what? I'll bring you and we'll see what chicks out wherever we're going I can hook up with. So this guy's with me. We walk out and we hear this, all right, is everybody ready? And I'm like, what's going on? Mike Bell is on the diving board. They had a diving board, and he's got a shot of tequila in the air. And he sits there and he goes, is everybody ready? And I'm like, what's going on? And one of the bartenders goes, that crazy dude bought shots for everybody up here. So I literally go, well, can I get my tequila shot? So even I got one before Bell was through talking and doing his toast. We all shot tequila. And I looked up and I'm like, what does a tab in Los Angeles for a shot of premium tequila cost for 100 people in a rooftop pool?
I think it was my bar tab was something like $1,600. My buddy Munson, who you met, my buddy Kyle, we went to high school together, and he was later an LA cop. And was that the Letterman trip or was that the Deep Blue trip?
It was Deep Blue. You did it on Deep Blue.
It was Conan. I said Letterman, it was Conan, because a year or two later when they launched Conan on TBS, me and Munson, he's my boy, and he's a big husky dude. He looks like an LA cop.
Yeah, and he was cool. By the way, hold on, I got my son. Hold on, he's in underwear. You can see him.
Hey, buddy, get your pants on that kid.
You know what? He's potty training, and here's my other one.
Hey,
Amanda.
Hi. So, still in pajamas.
Bye.
I remember I'm Uncle Mike. I'm godfather to 4 of my best friends. I like kids for about 3 hours, and then out they go. Okay,
You know what? You're doing it the right way. I see you and your lovely girlfriend. I love following you in social media. Matter of fact, how can people follow you, Mike?
Yeah, just go to Mike Bell ATL. That's my Twitter handle. That's where I do most of my damage. I think it's the same thing for Instagram. And yeah, I got married 6 years ago, bro. So it's like I've got the wing woman. We just had our 6th anniversary, and just the best. It's some guys wait. I waited until I was 45 to get married because my old man, and the old man was always packing a Marlboro. He's like, some guys say, you should just settle. Never settle. Wait till you find perfect. Just do it. And, that'll mess with your head, right? But I did. Yeah. I waited, and I finally found a chick who loves me as much as I love me and loves sports and loves to party, and we have a great time. So we travel. We don't have kids. So we just get to, travel and have shenanigans and have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I will tell you that it's funny. One reason I got Brett Barney as a co-host is because, number one, he works hard and he has passion. But he reminds me of a young Mike Bell. That idiot graduated from Alabama. He's having sex with people. He's a hot mess. He's got a little redneck in him. He's got a little jock in him, and he's actually intelligent. And he takes girls on trips and breaks up with them, and I love that kind of crap. So.
Hey, it was Oktoberfest, all right? Took her to Munich.
Nice.
Yeah, and then breaks up with her over beer. I don't know how you're getting home, but this crap is over. And he's on vacation with his mama. She was there. Yeah, Mom and I are staying. You got to go.
That's a bold move, Brett, because, I never went date night with a girlfriend. Well, actually, check that. I did go once to Europe. Went to Paris with a girl. Kind of knew it that trip. I had the ring and everything, and then pulled the plug on it because it just went south. Oh yeah. She later found out we were.
Damn.
I'll tell this story. We're at a bar, and my buddy's Johnny Plops. He's got a big mouth. He tells this girl, he's like, "Yeah, Mike had the ring and everything." He did? So she comes up to me one night, and she goes, we were having a bar, and my car was outside. She goes, "You had the ring? What happened to it?" I go, "It's right over there. It's a Cadillac XLR."
It's a ring I can drive. I took it back and got a car.
That's all, Mike. And then eventually I grew up, and yeah, man. Then eventually I found the right girl, and I advise all you youngsters out there to do the same.
Yeah, you know what? And you 45, me 47, getting married, and it's like, there's two things you don't do. You don't marry the one that doesn't say no to you, and you don't marry the one that's the best sex you've ever had, because they're crazy. They're crazy,
That's an axiom which we've talked about, not to be misogynist or sexist. Doing a lot of this today, but I think, and the same goes for women. I mean, like, we can flip the script. For instance, my kid's sister, Cindy, she has the worst taste in guys. So she'll be like, "Oh my God, Rocco is amazing. He can go all night. Does he have a checking account?" Well, no. So it's the same thing, I think, with women and men. We don't want to make it the same thing for us. But yes, there is a proportionate amount of craziness that goes with the good sex part. You're right about it.
Yeah. When your sister's showing, you see this scar in my back? He went right through me. He's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, not to stereotype New Yorkers, but the first time I met my future brother-in-law, picked me up at LaGuardia Airport, and my sister's there with this guy, and we have a trip planned. We're staying in Manhattan. We're going to go to a nice restaurant, and the plane was about 20 minutes late, a rare Delta flight that was late. So we land, and I go, "All right, Rocco, we're gonna go into town." "No, you see, because the plane was late, I got a problem with that. I got to go to work tomorrow, and, I don't know." "Well, it's okay. You can go home. I'll take my sister." "Well, because Cindy came with me. She's going home with me." I look at my sister. I go, "Okay, either this guy's going to go through a plate glass window in about 5 seconds." It just, I don't know about how you are, but I've got the most crazy in-laws, and they're all on my own side of the family. My wife's family, I love. I've married into a great family. They're all well-adjusted. But when I go home, literally, bro, it's the most dysfunctional thing you've ever seen.
Well, that's it. That's probably why we're all personalities, because my family's crazy. They're nuts. They're hot messes. They're fun crazy. Never got into trouble. Really never. Well, we did get arrested all together a couple times, but that was for underage drinking and being kicked out of hotels and that kind of. And somebody gets caught urinating on the wall, that kind of stuff. But no. But my wife's family, completely grounded. Intelligent. My mother-in-law's got like 2 degrees, my father-in-law and both sisters graduated with honors from Georgia. My wife went to Auburn, got through it, but I definitely got the dumber of the 3, and that's okay. I love that. but she's a good person. So I'm around this academic family, and then all the relatives, they either had money or married into money. So every time we go to their homes, I'm at some millionaire mansion in Philadelphia, or I'm in a millionaire mansion in Boston. They got the crazy swimming pool with all the caverns and everything that would be at a resort. And I'm like, "This is your aunt and uncle?" "Yeah, they own the lot next door. They built grandparents a house." I'm like, "Oh my God, I come from a split level and an above ground pool." And this is crazy. So they think I'm nuts, but my mother stayed here for the past week because I have Parker, my son that just is 3 weeks old. And my mother was doing what she does, and my wife was just freaking out. "Your mom brought sticks. They're building a teepee. Who does that? Your mom's got toys frozen in ice, and they're banging it with a hammer as a game. Why is he painting pine cones with peanut butter, and he got peanut butter on our couch?" I'm like, "These are crafts. My mom was a kindergarten teacher." My mother-in-law goes, "Can we sign him up for swim lessons? Let's do that." 2 different worlds.
Brett, what's the story with you, bro? Well-adjusted family, as Steve said. Most guys in radio, it's like stand-up comedy. There's got to be some dysfunction in the family.
No, and you've got it for you. And I just want to get into this because I do think you're one of Atlanta's greatest air talents. Again, to work with you would be a blast, but just being friends with you over the years, and we're the type, if I don't have to see you all the time, but we're immediately cool. But anybody that listens, to your show is number one, there's a tremendous amount of sports knowledge, and it's entertaining sports knowledge. And, I know that you got the Hellraise in you, and then you've got this sports guy in you, and you're fun to be around. And that's worth me listening to. So to have you on the Yeah Come On show is being a friend of yours for so many years is great. But I would ask you, to anybody that's not sure, how did you get into radio? How did you end up in radio? What were you doing before?
Well, when I was a kid, I loved, like so many guys who grew up in the tri-state area. We grew up in the city and we moved out to Long Island, is listening to Howard Stern. And anybody who's seen the movie, on WNBC, I mean, that was my childhood. Listening, I had a newspaper out when I was a kid, about like 12, 13 years old, mowing lawns, and you always be listening to Howard Stern. He was afternoon at the time. And I just loved it. And my old man, I remember going to ball games and stuff, the old man listening to news talk radio, and, it was the soundtrack. I don't know if that's the same for kids these days, because there's so many other, media sources and everything coming at you. But, back then, my dad and I would road trip. We'd go to like races. My dad was a big car guy. So we'd go to Daytona. We'd go to the Indy 500. And the old man would always be looking to find a rock station. I just loved, my dad's old 442, top down, listening to rock and roll. So I just knew I was going to do it. I was a teen DJ when I was a kid. My old man literally made the 2 turntables with the mixer from Radio Shack. And I would do Sweet 16s and, like, of course, Long Island bar mitzvahs. And we'd have a blast. And so when I went to NYU, much of the other schools I got kicked out of.
Yes.
Florida State. I was working at a bar in Manhattan, and this little guy came in, and he was Paul Simon's younger brother, Eddie Simon. He owned a little radio station in the Hamptons. For those who don't know, the Hamptons is like Lifestyles of the Rich and Shameless out on the east end of Manhattan. And I literally had the turntables at the end of the bar. Me and another bartender I would mix the drinks and hold on, do the mix. And he's like, "Wow, look at you multitasking." That's like Paul Schaefer meets Paul Simon from like Letterman. And I met the program director. I got hired. He's like, "When can you start?" I go, "When do you need me?" He goes, "Tonight." Radio, small market. So
Whoa.
I went on and did the overnight shift. I had done a little college radio, Mike's Metal Shop. But, man, I started when I was 18, and I've been straight through. So stops along the East Coast, and I got to Atlanta back in 98.
Yeah, and I remember meeting you shortly after you got into Atlanta. My career started in radio in 94 on 96 Rock, and I was just doing weekends, and I had Southside Steve's Saturday night. Woo! And, that was fun. And then I got with Christopher Rood and the Wake Up Crew. But for me, it started, at 88.5. I was at Georgia State, and I was doing radio there, and I was a 27-year-old freshman. And like you, I got let go out of a couple colleges. Clayton Community College, see ya. Georgia State took me in and said, maintain above a C average, you can be on the radio. So I took one class a quarter. So, I think I might be a sophomore. I'm not sure, because I had some remedials to take, but it was a lot of fun. You don't need a college degree to do what we do, but I did it all here. But I was always wondering how you got into radio. Now, sports, was that just something you loved and you just decided to go that route? Because I know, like Brett Barney, he was on News Radio 106.7. So you kind of get into news. Everybody has that thing that maybe they know a lot of and it fits. Did you,
Well, I love sports. I always loved sports. I mean, my dad, we had season tickets for the Mets. Now, again, we weren't rich. My dad was a cop. My mom was a school teacher in New York. So what we would do is we'd share season tickets for the Rangers, for hockey, and for the Giants football, Knicks, and Mets. So we go to about, maybe 25, 30 Mets games a year, maybe, 5 or 6 of the Giants games. It was just a great way to kind of grow up. And there's so many things to do in the city and out Long Island. So I just love sports. And like most guys, I played high school sports, but, I hit the ceiling. I couldn't hit the curveball. Trouble with the curve, like many guys. But they do those open tryouts at Florida State, and Coach Martin, who retired a couple of years back, you're literally in there, and I'm pumping fastballs, and then you can almost hear somebody behind your head, like, give it the curve, like number 2. And then
he can't hit it. He can't hit it.
Yeah, he can't hit the curve. So trouble with the curve is a thing. But no, I loved it when I worked in Fort Myers. I tell a quick story because I don't want to bore everybody. But when I worked in Fort Myers, Florida, I was doing a morning show, and I got to do a little bit of TV on the side. And that's when I met Craig Sager.
Okay.
Craig Sager, for those of your viewers, legendary sideline reporter for NBA, TBS, TNT. And Sager was a sportscaster at the station that I was working at, Wink TV and Wink Radio. And I got to meet Craig down in Fort Myers one weekend. And when I came up here for the job interview, I did a live audition on the old 790. Sager was reaching out to my boss, Salsa, who's now with the Hawks. I said, you got to hire this kid. You got to hire this kid. So I've always had a special place in my heart for Sager. So cheers to Sager up in heaven with my dad. But,
cheers.
Just one of the great guys. He owned Jocks and Jills. He was the part owner with Jocks and Jills and Frankie's, and just unbelievably just the guy who lived life. And unfortunately his life cut short from cancer. But no, that's part of it. I just got a chance with always. I think you had the same thing. Maybe you did. People that help you and look out for you. You know, guys that help you out along the way.
I was lucky. Christopher Rude knew that I'd been in sales and knew I was in advertising and had my own sales company. So he felt like, and he knew I was a personality. So he said, you know what, you ought to be pretty good at booking guests. And he came to me and offered me the morning show producer gig with him and Jeff Hullinger and, Beth Keppel and Kevin Zeppelin. So I was like, all right, I'm in. So I've never, left it. I was always that guy that was making good money, but not crazy money. Sort of like, all right, he's great on the streets. Oh, people love him. This guy can do any gig, and he's a good endorser, and, here's his salary. So, we'll keep him. Everybody else is fired. So that's how.
Steve, when I came up for the job interview, I worked in Miami at a rock station. I worked in Fort Myers. So I come up for the job, and I'm dying to get into sports talk. In Atlanta, Fort Myers is a smaller market. Atlanta at the time was like number 11 or 12. I'm like, oh, I got to get this job. So I'm in this interview at Tower Place in Buckhead, and this guy, Andrew Saltzman, we call him Salsa, who's really funny. He's like, how bad do you want this job? And I'm like, I'd shoot my kid's sister for this job. Youngsters out there, Brett, not a great negotiating tactic. Okay.
No.
Keep it a mystery. Keep the cards close to the vest. So, yeah, I mean, they probably got me cheap for the first couple of years. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. I would commit a homosexual act once.
I'm not going there, but yeah, man, it was just such a great opportunity. And Buckhead was Buckhead. I mean, I was intoxicated by how cool Atlanta was, and I know it's grown leaps and bounds in the 22 years I was here. But the first day they took me out, Steve, they put me up at the old Swiss Hotel.
Right.
That was the Westin, and I was sitting there, and so Willie Salucci was behind the bar at the Palm, the manager, and he goes, "They tell me you're up here for this audition," and I had already interviewed, and I did a comedy bit. And they said, produce a comedy bit. So the bit I did was like Mark Wohlers goes to see a shrink, because that's when he was having his final meltdown. You know why? Real quick, you know why he had to see a shrink? They say he came home from a Braves game early and his wife was having sex with somebody in front of him and he lost it. I don't know if that was urban legend. But now, again, you got more juice in this department than I do. But no, that was my first bit that I did for the station. They go, do it, like, Wohlers on the couch. And, the shrink is like, we do word association. I say the word, first thing comes to your mind. Fastball, home run. Home run. Yeah, so it wasn't brilliant, but they liked it. So I did that bit. I got 2 hours to kill before I go on the radio. And I go to the Palm restaurant, and Willie Salucci is there.
Love. Another toast we got to do to Willie. Loved him.
He's the best.
Yes.
Man, Willie goes to me, you'll love this, Steve. He's right up your alley. Willie goes, so I understand you're up here for this job interview. And I get that steak and salsa, they like you. You got to convince Bo Bach. And Bo is a great caster. But he wanted AJ, the guy that I was replacing, to stick around. So Willie goes, I got a great idea. You're probably a little nervous. I find when I'm nervous, a little adrenaline helps. Let's do some shots. So I do 2 shots of Pinkies, which is the Palm signature shot. Then I go across and I do the 4-hour audition, party all night. It's like 5 in the morning. I'm like, did I get the job? Oh, yeah, we need you to give notice and come up here in 2 weeks. But that's the old mom and pop radio. Steve and I, now we work in corporate radio, but it's kind of a time capsule for the way.
No. And you brought up some great things. That's one thing I love. When you came to Atlanta, Buckhead was just kicking ass. And you mentioned 2 sports locations, and all the people that helped make your career happen here. First off, to Willie and the Palm, where a lot of us have our faces, drawn on the wall, which is really kind of cool, the Palm restaurant. But you mentioned also Jocks and Jill's and Frankie's. And people don't realize Frankie's was just inside the perimeter off Roswell Road on 285. And that guy, the connections, a lot of radio ties in there too, but he definitely either paid or begged. But on any given night, huge sports personalities in there. He had all the jerseys signed, all the helmets. It was the place to go to if you were into sports. And then Jocks and Jill's, their franchise loved them. I took my brother out on his bachelor party, and of course I was tight with Jocks and Jills because I was doing all their gigs for 96 Rock. They gave me one of the vans with all the cameras in it. I put a keg in the back. I had porn running on all of it. I put all my brother's friends from West Georgia, 20 guys. They ended up losing 2. They ended up on porches in Buckhead. But, I took them to the strip clubs and everything on a Jocks and Jills van, and those were just some incredible days. And, we drive by these buildings that don't exist anymore, and I love when I get a chance to talk to a guy like you that started, but you're still here. And it's like, I hope it doesn't bore people, but this town was so alive. And so many great people have graced our presence, and they're the reasons we're talking right now. We're still on the air. So I'm glad you brought those two things up. Brett Barney, do you have any question for the great Mike Bell? I know you're sitting there patiently. You're kind of a sports guy. Outside of his penis size, which I know, don't ask. I know it.
That's a great lead-in. I feel like that was bad setup, but okay.
Well, Brett, you can go away if I threw you with that. We can come back. You want to talk about butts and how nice of a butt you have? Where do you want to go?
I was going to say maybe you need a little help. I don't know if you saw any messages on your phone.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Are you in trouble? What's going on? I'll take this interlude in the podcast to promote Dukes and Bell, Hey Man Ale. It's brewed from Coney Brewing over in Greensboro, Georgia. It's a blonde ale with a nice hoppy finish, so we maintain street cred with the hipsters. Dukes and Bell, Hey Man Ale, now available in Tall Boys.
Wow! I got to tell you, that was a great commercial. Hold that thought. We'll come back right now as we send it to a fine sponsor because Brett told me I needed to. Right now, let's go to Ridgeline Counseling and Dr. David Markwell, who, if you need help on marriage, life, maybe you're just a little kooky losing it, the guy will ground you 100%. Here's David Markwell.
I'm David Markwell with Ridgeline Counseling. The current situation we're in is bringing all kinds of issues into our lives, everything from stress and anxiety to frustration, bouts of depression and loneliness. Well, we're here to help at Ridgeline Counseling. You can reach us at 770-993-9700, or you can email us at ridgelinecounseling@gmail.com. Currently, we're offering telemental services through video and phone platforms, and in a few weeks we'll be transitioning back to in-person office visits. In the meantime, stay safe. We'll get through this. Yeah, come on.
Thank you, Dr. David Markwell, a huge friend and sponsor to the Yeah Come On show. And one other thing I want to mention that David Markwell did, as well as Oxygen Financial with Ted Jenkins, is they each bought $500 worth of Yeah Come On love, and they actually had me send it to first responders. So special thanks to oxygenfinancial.com. Along with David Markwell and Ridgeline Counseling, we've been able to hook up some fire stations, police stations, and some EMTs with Yeah Come On hats bought by our fine sponsors. And one new sponsor we have, just because I love the way he nailed it, I would like to once again mention Mike Bell's beer. Mike Bell, could you give us a slow commercial so everybody can go out and buy your beer?
All right, so a couple of years back, this is now our third football season of Hey Man. It's a great brewery. I say like a Coney Brewery. It's out in Greensboro, Georgia. They're kind of like what I guess Sweetwater would have been, Steve, years ago. Was they were getting rolling. Yeah. So it's a beautiful facility. They do like parties and events and stuff. It's just kind of like a gathering place out in Greensboro, which is like north of where Lake Coney is. So they approached us, and the argument we were joking around with our boss at the time is, do you guys want billboards or would you like your own beer? And my partner, Carl.
Hold on, glasses off.
There we go.
Hey, Carl.
And by the way, I'd be remiss real quick, Steve, just, you and I talked about how difficult it is in the business to find chemistry and partners and guys you really love. I've known Carl, and we tell the story on the radio a lot, but I've known Carl for like years. We used to see each other at Super Bowls and Final Fours and stuff. And we always said, man, I'd love to work with you. Because you and I would go on his show and he'd come on our show. We always had a great time. And Carl was a big star in Houston. So when they launched 92.9 The Game, turns out now, as my station is kind of going through the death throes, they were kind of done with it with the company that owned it. Carl, one of my buddies, is now opposite me an afternoon drive. I'm like, damn. But luckily, when my station went dark, We were able to negotiate a deal. They bought out my contract, and I got to jump over at 92.9. So I'm working with like my best friend. We joke around. We even dressed up as Crockett and Tubbs one year for Halloween.
Awesome.
So it's just when you work with your boy, and he's one of the few guys that can handle me. And like when I go too far off the deep end, he reels me in. But yeah, it's a great dynamic. So we got our own beer, and it's a blonde ale with a bit of a hoppy finish. And yeah, man, now even in tall boys. So Dukes and Bell, Hey Man Ale. Ask for it by name. We got the logo on it in the station, the whole shebang. It's a great marketing vehicle.
Dude, I love it. Congratulations on that. Go get yourself some Hey Man beer.
It's our 401k, so buy early, buy often.
Buy early, buy often. Why not? Just go buy it, damn it. Buy it. No, that's great. You're getting a piece of that, huh? A little piece?
Yes, well, again, that's proprietary, but yes, let's just say it's in our best interest that we sell more beer. So yes, please. That's
awesome. No, I dig it. Well, way to go. And I'm glad, it's great when you can work with somebody that's that close to you. Brett is into me like a freight train. He loves every time he can come on the air with me. And I know you have homosexual thoughts towards me, Brett, but it's okay.
I just want to pull your hair, baby.
I know. It's not your. I think Bailey on Bailey and Southside has the same issues. I've never met anybody that didn't love me. Maybe people that didn't understand. They hate me till they meet me. So I, like you, Bell, am full of charisma. And I will tell you that we are a damn good time going out. I'd give that to all three of us having fun. One thing I thought of with you is, do you remember when we were in Arizona together and I show up at the pool and you're dating a girl that I knew through my brother, and she's wearing barely anything, and y'all are just kind of hanging out on your own, and you have an entire pool to yourself, and as usual, you're ordering shots for everybody, you and your girl.
There was a guy that I listened to in New York rock radio who's now out in Los Angeles at the time, Bob Buckman, and I was like plaguing him. I was like, hey, Bob, I remember the time that you interviewed Billy Squire and he threw up on me. I was like doing the Chris Farley for this guy that nobody knows unless you grew up where I grew up. But yeah, it'd be like a young broadcaster finding you who listened to you with the regular guys. But yeah, man, that was a great trip. That was, for those, Steve and I brought it up earlier, Turner would launch a TV show and they like their big radio stations from the country out to, in this case, it was Sedona. What was that, like an alien show? What was it?
Yeah, it was the alien show, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, where obviously the world would be taken over. Huh?
Dark Skies?
What, guys? Maybe?
Dark Skies? I don't know. I'm trying
to. Dark Skies. It's Dark Skies. Way to go. Dude, we did this, and, you get these fun things when you do these trips. They're like, okay, we're going to give you a pair of Ray-Bans. Pick the Ray-Bans you want. Okay, because this is about survival, all of you have a day pack in your room waiting on you that looks like it's beaten up, but it's not. It's just looking like, and you get to wear your day pack. And you get all these things, and then we chose – the guy I was with was Josh, the sales guy that I had to take on all my TNT trips. We chose the helicopter ride. So we're going through Sedona, man, and we're whipping through, and we're like, do what you want. This dude's inverted in a helicopter. We're like, oh, my God. So we're going by all this crap, and I'm like, where was cell phone technology then? Why can't – all the crazy stuff we've done I can't film. All our careers now – we don't go on these trips. We don't do these crazy things. We're lame. All I can do is take pictures of my baby,
Well, the budgets, they used to have unlimited. I mean, I'm not sure how they do it now at Turner, but they had unlimited budgets. They really knocked it out of the park. So the idea is, Brett, you come back home, you go, well, I just met Noah Wiley, and we were in Sedona.
Yeah.
And again, it was very hippy-dippy out there. Because I remember one chick from some rock stations like, aren't you going to go on the Crystal Tour? I'm like, no, I'm going to hit golf balls. Free golf.
No.
It's a beautiful area. I rode motorcycles through there once from Phoenix. It's a beautiful area, man.
I would love to do that. I did play golf out there as well. And I remember hanging out with the cast around the campfire, and all of a sudden the dude's pulling out a joint. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. TNT, I'm not going to puff on it. That's illegal drugs. And I'm here for TNT, but I'll take some more bourbon. I'll take some bourbon. But no, it was crazy just working around all those actors and getting a chance to do that stuff. I miss that kind of work. But for you right now doing what you're doing, and I see that you're definitely not a guy that's shy about your travel. You go to some pretty cool places with your wife. And it looks like y'all are you don't go to Panama City, son. You go nice places. And I love following it. You're a big vacation party guy, man, and I dig that.
Brett, I've said this on the radio. Whenever people go like, "Oh, look at these NFL players, or look at these NBA players blowing through their money. They got no money left." I'm the same guy. Okay,
Yeah.
I live it. I want to be dead, and it's 000 on the bank account. I'm trying to have as much fun as I can, and not to get heavy and morbid. But I lost my dad. He was 51 when he passed away. I'm
Too early.
I'll be 52 next month. So to me, it's about fun and maximizing it and having a ball. So I've always loved world travel. And again, we're blessed with our jobs, not good. We can get out there and do it. But yeah, I just love to go see as much of the world as I can. And I love it.
I got to find wood. I got plastic. Oh, here you go. All right. I found some. I'm like, I'm going to knock on plastic and lose my job. But one thing I want to do on the Come On show, and again, thanks to all of our sponsors, including Heyman Beer, I just want to let Brett, I know you want to speed through some questions. Why don't you ask Mr. Heyman Beer, Mr. 92.9 from 2 to Dukes and Bell, a couple questions.
Okay, first off, I got to say I'm happy to know that you're about to turn 52 because my mom's older than you, and she went to NYU as well for a little while, and y'all did not cross paths. Clarified that right there.
No. By the way, we have you on the show. Bell's your daddy.
Well, you know what? We got the same hairline, and I used to buy Niagara.
I just got it all cut.
Down in the Bowery, man. I don't know.
Unless you're into Cougars, I guess, back then, and hung out at Studio 54.
Yes, he did.
No, you couldn't get in Studio 54, but what the hell? They had another club. Ian Schrager, they opened up another club on 14th Street, the Palladium. That was the bomb in the early mid 80s. And everybody in New York had the bad mustache, Brett. We all had like these little mustaches. So my graduation photo, my dad says I look like an Ecuadorian exchange student, with my family photo, because I don't match up with my brother and sister. But anyway, questions.
So I'm just going to ask you really stupid stuff that I wrote down. Here we go. How would you do at the NFL Combine right now?
How would you do it?
How would you do? Would you do well? How many reps?
We did this a couple of years ago for 92.9. We have Hugh Douglas on our morning show, played for the Eagles, Pro Bowler, a fantastically funny guy. And we did the bench press. I could do nothing as far as 40-yard dash, but I could probably get about 12 reps on the bench, 225 for 12 times. That's my only area of expertise.
You can do 12 on 225?
Yeah, we did. I did 10 a couple of years ago with a bad shoulder. Yeah, we had the videos out there on our website.
Dude, I did 3.5. I would do 3, and then my trainer would be like, I got you. And I'm like, God dang it.
No, it was a bad shot when I landed. I'm like, oh, my knee. I was like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack. Oh, my arm.
Do you think steroids should be legal in sports?
Yes, I don't care anymore. I really don't care. Baseball nerds get all hung up because the baseball is the records, and there's the sanctity of, this guy could do this, and he didn't have access to those drugs. Well, let's be honest. Half of baseball's history, you didn't have Spanish players or black players. So to me, it's like, who cares? What really comes in for me is for football. I don't think the average NFL fan gives two flips. Whatever keeps these guys out there, keeps your guy, well enough to get on the field. I know some people get all high and mighty on it. I don't give a crap. But these guys, they got a short lifespan. They got to do what they got to do to put money on the table.
I totally agree. When 5 years about the average on a career, maybe even 3 for these guys, and you don't think about it, whatever it takes for them to recover, because I don't think it's about strength. I don't think it's about speed. I think it's being able to play next Sunday.
Right. It's one of those things that it used to bother me years ago. I'm over it.
So marijuana as well?
Yeah, I mean, the opioid crisis. Would you rather have your guys, popping Percocets like Tic Tacs or, burning a J on, once they get home? I think, look, if people realize how many professional athletes are smoking these days, maybe some people do know, but I think it's one thing. The NBA is moving that direction. The NFL has loosened up in their last CBA. So it makes sense because for me, it's a harmless vice. And I think a lot of people are starting to come around to that.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think indoors you should smoke just because, that's gross. People don't want to smell like it. But in outdoor stadiums for football, I think they should be able to smoke a joint on the sideline. I think that'd be fine.
By the way, we were out in Vegas before the hit the fan back in February with my wife, and we're at the craps table at Cosmopolitan. And man, there was some serious hydroponic stuff going on around. You get like a contact high in the casino. So I understand what you're saying. It's not for everybody.
No.
And just remember, steroids are as American as apple pie. I believe that is the quote. Which is funny you said Vegas. My next question I wrote down, what's the dumbest thing you've ever gambled on?
Wow. Well, I mean, usually I'm not that. I mean, I like to think of myself as having a plan. I bet the ponies all the time. I always go for if I don't know the track, if I'm just at a casino like Caesars and they have all these giant screens, I go with 2 horses with good odds, and I'll go for a funny name. My dad always said, pick the horse with the best name. So one time I bet $1,000 because I was lit and tore it up at the craps table. And I won $14,000 on a horse in wherever the track is outside Chicago. It was called Big Al's Clean Machine. It just struck me as a fun name, and I won on it. That's something I didn't deserve to win. On the flip side, I bet the Falcons every year to win the Super Bowl. And the year we blew the 25-point lead, Carl and I were going to win $18,000.
Oh, my God. Oh. Oh.
$500. I believe it was 16-1, or maybe it was higher than that. But the payoff was going to be $9,000 each. So
Mike.
But Steve, when I talk to the Falcons, when I get Dan Quinn on, if I'm belly aching, I got season tickets. I don't sit in the press box. I'm a man of the people. I try to be, but I put my money where my mouth is. When we bet, we are in with these guys. So when I talk to like Matt Ryan or something, if they know, they know. But I tell them, look, I'm betting on you guys. It's more than just in the heart; it's with the wallet.
Dude, you know I bet on the Falcons. I didn't bet as much as you. I did like 100, but I bet on the Falcons to win the Super Bowl like probably 3 out of the last 4 years. And I respect that. But, man, what a payday that would have been. Oh, my gosh.
All I had in that game was the over.
I got the tickets. Yeah, right here. Here's my 2 Falcon tickets.
Oh, my.
Don't screenshot them. But, yeah, I got the Falcons at 50-1 and at 40-1 this last trip. We're out there for the Tyson Fury fight. So there you go.
There you go. Awesome.
What's an interview you've done that you would say you're the most proud of, and who's somebody that you hope to one day interview?
That's a great question, man. Sometimes Steve could probably back this up. Sometimes don't talk to your idols because sometimes they'll be a little let down. But I got to interview Joe Namath, and I'm not a Jets fan, but Joe Namath is Joe Namath. Joe Willie.
Roll Tide!
Joe Willie was one of the nicest. And not only after the interview, my mom loved Joe Namath. He actually talked to my mom for about a minute on the phone. And Joe Montana was kind of a dud spud. I've interviewed him a few times. But you know what? That's one of our favorite interviews, John Voight. There was another Turner interview, Steve. And John Voight was around for some. I think it was a ripoff of like Friday Night Lights. And we did like a half hour and got in depth on the craft. It was like inside the actor's studio with John Voight. It was great.
Was it like Varsity Blues, where he was the coach of Varsity Blues?
I think that was it. Good call.
Yeah, and it's so funny, too, because I became good friends with number 69, the big Ron Lester. Yeah, and this dude came in, and I befriended him when he lost all the weight. He came to Atlanta. I'd hang out because he's from Kennesaw. And then, nobody would hire him. It's skinny. And I did an independent film, The Greenskeeper. We threw him in that. And he asked to fly out from L.A. with his girl and wanted to be in first class. I'm like, yeah, Ron, we're going to put you in coach. But we'll try to get you front row. And we put him in the movie. And, of course, he's since passed. Man, we're doing a lot of toast to Ron Lester, number 69. But John Voight, that was a great role for him. That's cool. I've never talked to John Voight. That had to be awesome.
We love movies. We're like you, Steve. We do it's sports, but it's guy talk and pop culture. And I just bet, as far as guy I would love to interview, I'll give you one that I wish I could go back in time. My dad was a Brooklyn Dodger fan. I'd love to talk to Jackie Robinson. That would be one of heaven. That's one of those I'd love to get. Or anybody else. Muhammad Ali. Whether we'd see Muhammad Ali events, but obviously he wasn't. You couldn't interview him at that point. But that would be one to do.
And I just want to say real quick, one thing that we talk about on this show, and I tease Brett about it because Brett's like me. You could say anything to anybody, just like you can't really offend me. But we all lost our dads early. He lost his father like a year ago, and I lost my dad. I was 47. He passed at 67, but, man, you're dead at 51. So it kind of sucks because I see it in all of us. It's like we were guys that shared everything with our dads, and it just kind of leaves a little bit of a hole, man. But I just wanted to comment on that.
Another one.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. I think there's, that's that connection with sports. We hear about it today with guys. That's why this year has been so jacked up because with all the things going on in the world, we love to have sports, as a connection. Our city, it brings everybody together. Falcons games, United games. And again, you just miss the Braves games. That's the ultimate father and son, or mother and son experience.
Yeah.
I know when you were saying Joe Namath, this is what came to my mind. The most random story ever. Back in college, we were throwing a fraternity party, and it starts going around, and there's a bunch of people there, a couple hundred people there, band playing, and we start hearing Joe Namath's daughters at the party. And there's this guy that had never had any luck with girls that was in my fraternity. I don't know how that happens, but he just didn't. And he goes and beelines right up to her. And she drops a, "Do you know who I am?" And he said, "I don't know, but I'd like to kiss you." Just like named it on the reporter. She made out with him right there on the spot in the middle of the party.
Dude, that's great because I lose faith in younger generations. We were in Miami a couple of years ago. 6 beautiful girls at the bar down at Nikki Beach, Steve. 6 good-looking dudes. Everybody on their phone. No interaction. So that restores my faith. If somebody, you got to shoot your shot, man. It's a contest.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it.
Hey, Mike, if I made you the commissioner of baseball right now, what's one thing you would do to make baseball better? Because people always complain that baseball has gotten boring. I love baseball personally, but what would you do?
I bellyache about it all the time. Baseball is not that hard to fix. Call the strike zone. Call the strike zone from the chest to the knees. Expand the strike zone. It'll take the hitters a season to adjust. Yeah, the strikeouts will go up, offense will go down, but that's how you speed up baseball. And you get to step out of the box one time. Go back and watch a baseball game from the 70s. Pitcher gets ball, pitcher throws ball. It's just too much wasted energy between pitches, in my money, and the umpires are ruining baseball. That's my beef.
Okay, good. I agree with that. I never thought about stepping out of the box. That's awesome, man. In the strike zone, good stuff.
As an umpire for the past 18 years, I disagree with you.
Hold it. He's an umpire for like 8-year-old baseball.
I do everything not college or professional. I do men's league. I do high school.
You're squeezing kids on the dark side, on the black of the plate. Okay, I know you're tight. It's a problem.
Oh, baby, I give you River all day.
No, if you're umpiring T-ball, you're not an umpire.
Dude, Steve, I train people how to do it. Been to Cooperstown, been all around. It's all good. I get it. You know what? This is my idea of the way of making baseball better. I'm going to pitch this to you. If there's seats in the 7th inning, after the 7th inning stretch, there's no more assigned seats. People in the upper deck can move down and pack out behind the plate. I want the home team to have an actual advantage in the final innings if it's a close game. Bring the people from the upper deck that wouldn't experience that lifestyle sitting in a SunTrust seat. Go up, pick them, bring them down. You know, that could change a kid's life.
Brett, that's a great point. I bellyache about this all the time. When you watch a Braves game after 6 innings, well, Armstead, I believe it's time for us to get back to our gated community. They all leave. And the people that you're at a Braves game and you're wearing a green polo shirt. You're not even wearing a Braves cap. You're sitting there, or the guy, like the dude on the phone, you see me yet? You see me yet? I'm old school, man. I don't need all the bells and whistles. Just put me down. I'm with you because you got to pay through the nose to get those good seats these days. And those Jack don't even understand what they're doing. They lead. Much. Good point.
Good job.
If you had to rank the top 3 sporting events that take place in a normal year, unlike this year, what would be gold, silver, and bronze? Start with bronze. What's the 3rd best sporting event in your mind, then go up to the best?
Wow, that's a tough one. I mean, are we taking away the Super Bowl, all the obvious ones?
No, you can put the Super Bowl, like for me, like
any event, right? Any event.
Ontario Derby would definitely be in mine.
I love the ponies. I come from a long line of Irish degenerate gamblers, so I love the ponies. I've only been to the Kentucky Derby about 3 or 4 times. I would do, if there's a game 7, I know that has to, work itself out. But I love, a championship game. So, I mean, you want to go to an elimination game in the playoffs. I love the NFL. But number one, if there's going to be a gold, and I know people say, what? It's got to be your bucket list, especially guys who've listened to Steve all these years who love racing. I'm an Indy 500 freak.
Oh, wow.
Indy 500. I've been to it 19. This was going to be my 20th one. And to see cars, we sit in turn 1. Cars coming down at 235 miles an hour, like slot cars coming at you. And it's just, and there's 300,000 people. It's like you take like Charlotte Motor Speedway and Wrigley Field and put them together, and that's what it feels like in Indy. It's just, it's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. But Kentucky Derby is definitely in there as well.
Yeah, I'd have to. Steve, do you have one you'd throw in?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I've been to the Super Bowl. I had a front row seat for the Atlanta Falcons loss against the Broncos in Miami. That hurt. Thanks to Miller Lite, I always got to thank those guys because I don't know what a front row seat costs, but I know I didn't have the money then. Yeah.
I couldn't stop the ticket. We watched that game at Shooters. Me and Johnny Plops in Fort Lauderdale. I mean,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I was down there. The regular guys at 96 Rock, and Miller came up to us and go, I'd done a lot for Miller, a lot of promotions for him that year, probably about, 80 to 100 at bars and Buckhead and all over. And they're like, you were good to us. We're going to be good to you. So for me, it's the Super Bowl. I also was at the World Series the year we won Game 1. My program director at 96 Rock, Michael Hughes, gave me 2 tickets to Game 6, the final game in Atlanta that they won. My brothers were there with me, and I just was like, I could have taken the chick I was with, but I'm like, I'm not marrying her. Matter of fact, one of her breasts is actually bigger than the other. This is not going anywhere. I mean, barely. I could see it. So,
like the girl from Total Recall. What are we talking
yeah. So I'm like, I look at my brothers and I'm like, it was the greatest moment in my life, I think, outside of even being married, to see my kids born. When you look at your 2 brothers and you're raised on a salary of my father's at $28,000, and you look at him and you go, I got 2 World Series tickets for both of you. The look on their face. And then, of course, we clinched. That's my greatest moment. So in sports, so I would have to say there's something special, even more about a Super Bowl, a World Series. And I'm more of a football guy than baseball, but I would say a World Series Game 6 or 7 is the ultimate moment to be there.
And Brett, I'm sitting here in my little cubby hole because happy wife, happy life. You'll learn she has the big office. I'm like in a little cubby hole here in our condo. But on my desk, it's funny you bring it up, I've got my Game 6 ticket stubs. My dad, that's the ball. The ball gets through Bill Buckner's legs. And Game 7. This is my cherished. If there's a fire in the building, this goes. Okay, this and the cat grab. But this is my greatest sports memory. My dad and I, Game 6. It looks like they're dead to rights, and they come from behind and they win. And me and my dad spend the night in the city having a ball. So yeah, it's World Series.
Dude, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I got to tell you, seriously, I've got some cool crap in my basement. I can't touch that. That is so cool. That game is so, oh my God.
Iconic.
Yes. Wow. Oh,
I would say for me, not the greatest event, but the greatest atmosphere.
I know what it is. Let me guess. Umpiring the Little League World Series.
No, close, but living in the Talladega infield for 3 days.
Oh.
That was a trip. And
what up, redneck?
Dude, that's an experience. So much moonshine. I don't know what else to say. Mike, what's the best trophy in all of sports?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, because, the baseball trophy's got a little pennants on it, but nobody really thinks of it as like, the aesthetics of it don't really mean anything. I
told Chris Medlin I didn't like the World Series trophy because you can't drink out of it. But he told me if you flip it upside down, it has a bowl in the bottom you can actually drink out of. And he said he has one, and he invited us over to drink out of his.
No, I just thought of it. It's got to be the Stanley Cup because, that's one. Years ago, they brought it around when the Thrashers were in town. We got a chance to all take pictures with it. And Stanley Cup. That would trump the Super Bowl trophy.
See, and for me on that, if you talk trophies, I would have to say the Masters trophy. There's just something incredible about watching the Masters. And, we've all, I'm sure, been there, because we knew somebody. But, just watching golf because, I think everybody plays, at least, Bell, I don't know if you play golf, but the Masters trophy for me, I mean, I know I've seen –
we play a lot.
You still play? Because I remember back in the day – running into you, and I was like, okay, all right, Bell plays, but I didn't know if you were just out there hanging out or whether you're really into it.
Well, I'll give you the because I see Brett's shirt. When I was a kid, when we were up in Long Island, my high school is literally 4 miles as the crow flies to where Bethpage is, Bethpage Black, where the U.S. Open is held. And it might as well, as I say on the radio, it might as well have been Madagascar when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't play golf. My dad, we'd drive by, the old man would be like, golf, it's a Rich Blankholz game. The old man hated golf. He's like, it's a elitist sport. My dad's a Reagan Democrat. He's a union man, So he thought golf was kind of elitist. Tiger kind of took that out. I was one of those guys. I didn't pick up the sticks until I moved to Atlanta. Willie, we brought up earlier in the podcast. Willie's like, what do you mean you don't play golf? Took me to Edwin Watts, got me set up with my sticks, and now I'm a junkie, man. We're playing the Frog this weekend.
Oh my God, we need to play. We need to play around. My wife's kind of letting me. I live on the golf course here where I live, and I'm on the 16th hole. And I'm like, man, I've only played this course twice because I've had kids. I'm like,
I don't even sit on my shoulder, Steve. It's a painting I picked up down in Key West. It's called Settle Up. It's the gimlets versus the martinis. You got the onions and whatever is that? It's the onions and the onions are fighting each other.
I love it. I was noticing that behind you. I dig it. No, I picked up the sticks in '87, so I've been playing a while, but I'll never forget. I'd only played literally one dirt course, and then they take me to Stone Mountain for the weekend. My roommate, and he goes, dude, we're going to play Stone Mountain. Well, people don't realize they announced your name. They wanted, Steve Rickman, would you now take the tee? And you come out on one in front of God and everybody. I couldn't hit the driver, so I'm teeing off with a 2-iron. And I topped the ball in front of everybody, and it goes 4 feet. And I'm like, shit. Then I got to walk up 4 feet, and I go to hit it again. I top it again.
Well, we're going to be like 2 hours on this podcast. I'll tell you one, like I always say, one last story, and I'll put the clock on. I'll try to keep it under a minute.
Yeah, Brett, you got to end with your questions, you son of a bitch.
I have 2 left.
Because you love this, Steve. You talk about pressure. 2005, the Falcons play the Colts in Japan. So I went over. I spent a week in Japan, toured all over. I went to a Japanese minor league game. And I met this gentleman. Turns out that his grandfather started the Nikkei exchange, like their stock exchange. So get some coin. He goes, invites me to play golf because I'm out there for the whole week. I got a club of Hanma clubs that when you hit the ball perfectly, it goes ting, like a ting board. They take me out, and it's like a scene in Michael Douglas' movie Black Rain. I'm the only gaijin foreigner at this golf course outside Tokyo. And you want to talk about pressure? It's like, because back then I'm, big boy. Oh, let's watch the American hit the golf ball. You want to talk about sweating bullets, man?
Oh,
I just took the old maxim: don't try to kill it, just make contact, get it out in the middle. Luckily, I did.
Oh,
I want to talk eyes right on the tee box, man.
it's tough, man. I can't handle the pressure. I thought I could. I can't. With all those people, my third shot, I got the ball out of there, and I was like, thank the Lord. But yeah, it's tough when you got a bunch of people watching. All right, Brett, finish up with 2 speed questions. I'm going to give this guy a cigarette break, and we're going to get out for a day.
Dude, I got a tee time in 3 hours, so I feel you guys. It's my 5th round in the last 6 days.
Nice.
Screw you, man.
I started quarantine shooting a 105. I played 2 days ago. I shot at 85. So,
all right, cheers.
I'm working on this game.
Calls on Brett.
Okay, so I have to ask this. One of my good friends I grew up with, he literally will not miss your show. He's P1. It's appointment listening to him. And I texted him today and was like, I'm talking to Mike Bell. Do you have any questions? And he asked this. I don't know if it's good or not. What's your favorite impression to do? And he sent me a bunch of different impressions because he's listened to you from The Zone to 92. Like, he's followed you for years.
Well, just the easiest one for me, because I grew up as a little kid, spent all my summers in Florida, and my Nana and my great-grandmother loved wrestling, so I got to work with Dusty Rhodes, as you know, Steve.
Oh,
back in the
yes.
old days. And there was a network before Turner South, or yeah, it was Turner South. I think it's Peachtree, whatever it is now. But it was a show we did from Turner Field. The show was called Hey, the Braves Are Next. And it was Dusty Rhodes and I, and it'd be like 15, 20 minutes. We do interviews with the players. We do a feature like we steal the bullpen car or this and that. And Dusty would be like, so we'd come up and I'd be the point guy. We'd be out at the chop shop. I'm like, okay, Dream, the Mets are here in town. Or how's it going to play tonight? And Dusty would be like, let me tell you something, Mike. That turncoat Tommy Glavine, he just went Benedict Arnold on us. I found him with the Mets. And I think we're going to stick it up his kazoo, Daddy. Braves going to win 5-1. And so then I'd go, there you have it. The Dream says the Braves went up to Skip. And then Skip would be like, you know, every time these guys are on before us, I feel like I'm losing brain cells.
Awesome.
So there's 2 for the price of 1.
I love it. I got Skip and Dusty. God bless them both. Man, could we quit toasting deceased people? Gee.
I hope if they're I like to think that there is a heaven and all these cool people are all hanging out, like you, my dad, your dad, our dad's up there.
Yeah.
Sager, Skip, and all that. Let's hope that's what happens.
I hope it is. And I hope it's the way we've seen it in the movies. I want to go up a long escalator. I think that'd be really cool. you know?
Right, right. Yeah, I'm one of those dudes. Every time the end of Field of Dreams comes on, I'm like, look at something in my eye.
That's awesome.
You want to have a catch?
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Fred. Sorry about that.
All right,
No
here's my last one. I'm sorry. I always try and end with something stupid because the rest are all not. If someone was trying to describe your appearance to another person who didn't know what you looked like, and they could only use food as a reference, what foods and how would they describe you?
Damn.
That's a good one. I guess like a Vienna sausage. Be like, no, chubby sausage or chorizo. Be the short and stocky.
All right, I'm a spotted banana.
Yeah, Steve, I usually get Fat Chandler from Friends, so that's
Yes.
I'll go with chorizo, like a chorizo with stumpy little legs.
Do you know that I'm glad you brought that up? You've always reminded me of Chandler on Friends. I know I'm not the first to say it. It's your visual and it's the way you carry yourself, but I'm like, you're the jockey Chandler, which is good stuff.
Steve,
No,
you're
we were in Vegas, and this girl, we're playing craps, and we meet these girls, and the next day we invite them to the pool, and they were like typical Southern California. And so the girl's on the phone, and she's so oblivious that I can hear everything she's saying. This is like 10, 15 years ago. She's like, no, we met these guys, and they're like from Atlanta, and they got a cabana. This is like the old days of the Hard Rock at rehab. Like, oh, no, and my cousin Tony looks like Joey from Friends. So one guy looks like Joey, and I'm like with the Fat Chandler.
That is awesome. Oh, we're about to finish up here with one Mike Bell on the Yeah Come On show. Mike Bell of 92.9, again on the air every day, well, 5 days a week from 2 until 7, Dukes and Bell. One thing that I forgot to bring up, when we were in Los Angeles together, the TNT people came to me, and this is after you had a $6,500 tab on top of the London hotel, buying tequila shots for everybody. I don't know that you remember, but I talked to your buddy. I was hanging out with him, and they came up to me. You know, we knew all the girls that work for TNT, and they're like, Steve, where's Bell? He's got to get his picture taken. He's got to get his ID for this whole – you got to get it. I'm like, I got it. So I went to your buddy. I go, take me to the room. I had to go to the room and wake Mike up, totally passed out in his room, and I bring him down with 2 minutes to spare. Bell doesn't even know what's going on. You know, he's hurting from the biggest tab ever that I knew anybody ever paid. And he's totally hungover, and he just sits down, and he's like, take the picture. So they take the picture. Bell's got an ID badge with one eye open, one closed for the rest of the weekend in Los Angeles. But
I look like Bill the Cat from Bloom County. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But I remember that because Bunch is like, Steve is here. You got to get downstairs. They need you for something. Yeah, I had like an axe in my head. Good call.
I know. I'm like, you got to get up, dude. But I just want to say again, what a pleasure. What a career you've had in Atlanta since 1998. And what we want to do before we close out is give you a minute. It's like a cigarette break where you're really hitting it hard. But we want to let you be shameless. Let us know where we can get your beer, how we can follow you on social media, and again, anything that you're into right now.
Cool, man. Yeah, it's Mike Bell, ATL on Twitter, and it's Hey Man, Dukes and Bell, Hey Man Blondale. That's me and Carl. You can get it at a Coney Brewing. There's a website for a Coney because it's in package stores and it's in supermarkets, and you got to look for it because we make about every 2 or 3 weeks. We get they come out with the cases. But yeah, catch us 2 to 7 on 92.9 The Game, and hopefully, if we can ever get back to normal, you'll see me in the stands in section 342 for the Falcon games and section 208 for United matches. But we love getting out there, man. Hopefully we'll get back to normal sooner than later, and you and I can start hanging out more.
I'd love it. Friend and a fan, my brother. Mike Bell, special guest on the Yeah Come On show, brought to you by Circle285.com for all your insurance needs. Get a quote. It's free. You're probably paying too much, and you've probably been with the same insurance company for 17 years. OxygenFinancial.com for your, finances and your bucks. Ted Jenkins killing it for me. Killing it. He can kill it for you. And lastly, Ridgeline Counseling, Dr. Dave Markwell. He is Mike Bell of 92.9 Dukes and Bell. I'm Southside Steve. That's my co-host, Brett Barney, and we are the Yeah Come On show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, whichever one you did, damn it.